The first thing I would say to President-elect Obama, of course, is congratulations. And, I think for many people outside the United States, and this is true for not an awful lot of my friends and colleagues in Canada, this may be the most exciting kind of electoral result of our adult lives. I mean, never, in my memory has there been an election result that's so pregnant with the promise of hope about the future, and it's been a long time since there's been anything to be hopeful about. And maybe this marks the end of the neoliberal era. Let's hope for that. It's over 25 years now. Well, what I would say to what I would say to you, Barack, is I mean, there are three things I think that, from a Canadian perspective, are terribly important in terms of your policies and approach. The first you've identified as your first priority, which is energy independence for the United States. And there are various ways for that to be achieved. But the one that is one of the options available to you that's troubling for us would be an increasing reliance on the development of the tar sands in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Those projects, which are now the largest energy projects in the world, have had devastating consequences, not only on the local ecosystem and its aquatic resources and on the social fabric of those communities in northern Alberta and on the Aboriginal communities that have to bear the brunt of the impacts associated with that development, but devastating on the climate. This is the most energy intensive way in the world to produce oil. It's been devastating on the Canadian economy, having transformed our dollar into a petrodollar, which has made our manufacturing economy much less competitive internationally. It may be tempting for you to regard Canada, to a lesser degree Mexico, because we're aware of the interests that US-based corporations have in extending their projects in Mexico and their support for various privatization initiatives that the Mexican government has endorsed. But to transform your neighbors into energy colonies for the United States, and I think it's terribly important that you resist that. What's happening certainly in our country in the tar sands is profoundly and fundamentally unsustainable. And our conservative federal government has already invited you to kind of embrace those projects as the principal way for you to achieve energy independence. You won't be independent in terms of self-reliant. You'll be simply shifting your dependence from the Middle East to Canada, and in a way trading political uncertainty for something which is really more certain, which is the ecological damage that's going to result from those developments if they continue to expand at the pace they have been. So I want to strongly encourage you to pursue another path when it comes to your energy initiatives in the States, and really do in a very aggressive way foster renewables and conservation and all of the ways in which we have to extricate ourselves from a carbon-based economy as quickly as we can in order to ensure ecological security for the people of your country and mine and the world. The other issue that's very, very important for Canadians in terms of your foreign policies and approach to dealing with, in this case, the challenges of the Middle East and Afghanistan, you will know that we didn't join you in Iraq, but the quid pro quo for not having done that was to do some very heavy lifting in Afghanistan and the Kandahar region. And I think every single day the Canadian forces have been there in very significant numbers for a country our size. The situation in that part of Afghanistan has become less stable, less secure, less safe for the people that live there. And the policies that our government now embraces will fail. We think you understand that in regard to Iraq and Iran, brute force will not resolve the problems that exist in those regions, that you need a far more tactful and engaging approach, including, as you've already indicated, a willingness to speak to people we don't have much in common with or easily find agreement with. That's true in Afghanistan, certainly, as surely as it is in Iraq and with respect to Iran. And simply moving more troops in, and I believe a reference you made to a surge in Afghanistan is worrying, because you have to look at the troop number levels that the Russians had in that part of the world, far, far in excess of anything that you could even contemplate. And of course they failed. So I strongly encourage you to adopt, with respect to your approach to Afghanistan, a much more diversified strategy that involves, first and foremost, negotiations with the various factions involved and the regional powers in the area as the only way to seek a peaceful and outcome in that part of the world. The third thing I would strongly encourage you to do is to pursue the whole question of NAFTA, which you've already raised. But to do that in a more generous way than certainly the Clinton administration did, and to pursue trade policy that are sustainable, that regard as priorities ecological security, workers' rights, social justice, human rights. Those are the explicit goals that trade policies should serve. Those cannot be the trickle-down outcomes of more neoliberalism, which simply seeks to remove from governments the tools governments need to address the needs of the working class, which you've expressed so much concern with, to wean our economies off carbon. We need the governments to step in and to address the real problems that people confront in their communities. We've had some indication of a willingness for government to do that when the financial house of cards collapse. But what's waiting for us ecologically, what's waiting for us in terms of the consequences of allowing this disparity of wealth and power to continue to exist and even grow between the haves and the have-nots will be far more severe than what's roiling the financial markets now. I think that NAFTA is dead weight in the 21st century. We don't need an agreement of this type among our countries. To the degree that we need agreements that deal with the trade in goods across international borders, we should find those rules in the WTO. Our problems are not trade related. They're about the ecology, they're about the workers' rights, they're about social justice. And we need to strengthen international law and our agreements among the countries of North America to foster those objectives. So that's a tall order, but that's my invitation to you.